Rain drummed against the stained glass windows of St. Augustine's Cathedral, like the sound of 1,000 whispered doubts. Inside the grand church, candles flickered along marble aisles, their flames trembling as if they too sensed disaster approaching. Isla Munro stood at the altar, her hands clutching a bouquet of white lilies that had begun to wilt under the heat of the lights and the weight of waiting. Her wedding dress shimmered like a promise she no longer believed in. The crowd murmured restlessly, perfume and judgment thick in the air. She had been waiting for over an hour. Her groom, Daniel Hale, the man who had sworn eternal love, was nowhere to be seen. Every second stretched into eternity, every whispered word another knife twisting deeper. Her father's jaw tightened, his voice low and furious as he turned to the priest. "Enough of this," he hissed, his patience snapping like glass. He stormed down the aisle, his footsteps echoing with anger and humiliation. Her mother's face drained of color before she collapsed softly into a pew, overcome by shock. Isla's best friend Mia rushed to her side, whispering, "It's going to be fine. Maybe he's stuck in traffic. Maybe something happened," but the tremor in her voice betrayed her own disbelief. Cameras from gossip outlets flashed at the edges of the crowd, eager to devour a scandal. The perfect wedding of the year was unraveling before their eyes, and Isla could feel her world coming apart thread by thread. The priest shifted uneasily, glancing at the clock, then at the guests, before lowering his eyes in quiet resignation. "My dear, perhaps we should—" he began softly, but his words were cut short by the sudden creak of the cathedral's side door. Daniel's best man stumbled inside, rain-soaked, breathless, his tie undone and his eyes wild with panic. He reached the altar and leaned toward the priest, whispering urgent, "Lie." But the sound carried just enough for everyone to hear. "He's gone. He's gone with her." The words hung in the air like smoke, impossible to grasp and impossible to escape. Isla froze. Her bouquet slipped from her trembling hands, the white lilies scattering across the marble floor like fallen hope. For a long moment, she couldn't move, couldn't speak. The whispers rose into gasps, into pity, into the sound of 1,000 hearts breaking in unison with hers. She took a step back, shaking her head as tears spilled freely, blurring the stained glass into a wash of color. No one came forward. No one knew what to do. Her perfect fairy tale had ended in front of everyone, the audience she had wanted to impress now witnessing her destruction. And then, just as her sob broke the silence, the heavy cathedral doors swung open with a sound like thunder. The crowd turned. Light from the storm outside flooded in, casting a silver glow on the figure who stood in the doorway. Tall, composed, dressed in a black suit that fit like armor. His expression unreadable, his presence commanding. He walked slowly down the aisle, each step echoing in the stunned silence. When he reached the altar, he stopped a few feet away from her. His voice was calm, deep, steady. "Don't cry." The simplicity of the words cut through the chaos like a blade. Isla blinked at him through her tears, unable to comprehend what was happening. "If he won't marry you," he said, his gaze unwavering, "then I will." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The priest stared in disbelief. Her best friend's mouth fell open. Even the storm outside seemed to pause. The stranger extended his hand, his expression softening just enough for her to see something unexpected in his eyes. Not pity, not pride, but certainty. And in that suspended moment, as the ruined wedding turned into something unthinkable, Isla realized that her story was no longer ending. It was only beginning. Rain still clung to the edges of Isla's veil as she stood in the back of the limousine, her heart pounding louder than the storm outside. The stranger who had just saved her from the most humiliating moment of her life sat across from her, calm and unreadable. His black suit perfectly dry, despite the chaos that had just unfolded behind them. His name, she finally learned, was Adrian Voss. The name carried weight whispers. Even the priest had gone pale when he recognized him. Adrian Voss, the reclusive millionaire who rarely appeared in public, The man known for buying companies and saving them from ruin, with the same ease he had just saved her from disgrace. Isla sat trembling, unsure whether to thank him or demand to know why he had interfered. "You don't even know me?" She managed her voice raw from crying. His eyes met hers, steady and unflinching. "I know enough," he said softly, "that you didn't deserve to be left standing there alone." His tone was not comforting. It was factual, as if he were describing a business deal, yet something in the way he said it made her chest tighten. The car stopped outside a towering glass building, the city lights reflecting like stars trapped in steel Voss Tower. Adrian stepped out, holding the door for her. "Come inside. You need rest." She hesitated. The cameras had followed them, flashes already lighting up the wet pavement. If she refused, the story would be worse. Runaway bride refuses millionaire's rescue. She sighed and followed him through the lobby, her heels clicking on the marble floor, every step echoing with disbelief. The elevator ride felt endless, the silence between them heavy. She finally broke it. "Why did you do it? Why me?" His reflection in the glass looked colder than the man before her. "Because sometimes people need saving," he said. "And sometimes I need a reason to feel human again." The words hung between them as the elevator doors opened to reveal a penthouse that looked like a world built for solitude. Glass walls overlooked the rain-soaked city. Minimalist furniture, everything immaculate, too perfect, too controlled. A woman in her 50s appeared, polite expression. "Professional. Mr. Voss. Should I prepare the guest room?" Adrian nodded. "This is Isla. She will be staying here for a while." The woman gave a subtle nod before disappearing into the hallway, leaving them alone. "Staying here?" Isla repeated, disbelief cracking through her exhaustion. "This is insane. You can't just take me home like some project." He didn't flinch. "Would you rather face the press, the tabloids, or your father demanding answers? You need protection from all of them." His logic was cruelly sound. Still, it made her bristle. "I don't even know you, and you think you can decide what's best for me?" Adrian stepped closer, his voice low, not deciding. "Helping, there's a difference, though. Few people ever believe it." Something flickered behind his calm mask. Regret, maybe pain. He turned away, pouring 2 glasses of water from a crystal decanter. "Drink. You're dehydrated. You've been crying for hours." The simple statement hit harder than comfort. She accepted the glass, her fingers brushing his, just enough to feel the electric pull between them. For a moment, silence stretched, only the sound of rain tapping the glass walls. Then Adrian spoke again. "Tomorrow, the world will wake up to headlines. You can either hide or take control of the story." "And how do you propose I do that?" she asked. "By staying married to me," he said evenly. "We make it official tomorrow." She froze, staring at him, unsure if she had heard right. His gaze didn't waver. "We sign the papers. We give them what they want. You regain your dignity. I gain something else." "What could you possibly gain from this?" she whispered. His jaw tightened. "Perhaps redemption." Her breath caught. His tone was soft, but his eyes carried storms of their own that night as she. He lay awake in a room too beautiful to feel real. She replayed his words. Redemption, for what she wondered as thunder rolled over the city, and the man who had promised to protect her stood by the window watching the storm, like someone who had lived through one far worse. The morning light crept through the glass walls of Voss Tower, spilling gold across the floor, and waking Isla from a restless sleep. She sat up still, wearing the borrowed shirt Adrian had left on the chair beside her. Its faint scent of cedar and rain stirred something unfamiliar inside her. The events of yesterday crashed back all at once. The altar, the humiliation, the stranger who stepped into the storm and said, "I will marry you." A knock sounded at the door before she could answer. The same calm voice came through. "Breakfast is ready, Miss Monroe." The maid said, formal, polite. Almost distant Isla dressed quickly, her mind spinning with confusion and curiosity. She found Adrian already at the dining table, surrounded by folders, newspapers, and his phone screens glowing with news headlines. Every one of them screaming about her: runaway groom, socialite bride, marries millionaire stranger. "The public is obsessed," he said without looking up. "Every media outlet is demanding interviews." Her stomach tightened. "I never asked for any of this." His eyes finally lifted to meet hers. Neither did I. He gestured to the seat opposite her. Plates of food untouched, the tension between them thicker than the silence. When he finally spoke, his tone was steady, controlled. The only way to stop this storm is to turn it into something we can use. We get married properly today, the real ceremony. Legal documents, witnesses, your reputation saved, mine protected. Isla stared at him as if he had lost his mind. You want me to marry you for real? Adrian nodded. No hesitation. This time, you walk down the aisle by choice, not tears. She pushed back from the table, half laughing, half trembling. I don't even know who you are. Why would you do this? What do you want from me? His eyes darkened, something flickering in their deepy. Like a secret burning too long in the dark because you remind me of someone I once knew, he said quietly. Someone I failed to save. His words sent a chill through her. But before she could question him, a sudden buzz filled the room. Adrian's assistant appeared holding a tablet. Sir, you need to see this, a leaked video from the cathedral. Someone recorded the entire thing from the moment she started crying to the second. Adrian walked in and made his shocking proposal. The video had already gone viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments, sympathy, cruelty, fascination. Adrian watched it once, expression unreadable, then turned off the screen. They will never stop, he said softly. They will keep chasing you until this story has an ending. His calmness frightened her more than the chaos outside. Why do you sound so certain? Because I have lived it, he answered. I know how the world works. You either control the story, or it controls you. Hours later, she found herself in the back of a black car again, this time wearing a simple ivory dress, nothing like the one that had been ruined the day before. The courthouse loomed ahead. Her pulse raced as Adrian reached for her hand, steadying her without a word. His touch was warm, sure, almost comforting. Inside, the judge read through the papers. The marriage contract simple but binding. Adrian signed first, his signature sharp and confident, when it was her turn. Her hand shook slightly, but she signed anyway, a decision made by instinct rather than reason. When it was done, he turned to her, his voice low. Now, you are Mrs. Voss. Officially. The name hit her like a wave, heavy with meaning and uncertainty. Reporters swarmed outside, flashes exploding through the windows. Adrian guided her out calmly, shielding her from the chaos with his arm around her waist. Whispers followed them like shadows. Back in the car, she finally asked, Why me, really? Why not any other woman, Adrian? Looked out the window. Rain beginning to fall again because the moment I saw you standing there broken, I recognized myself, he said softly. And because I knew the man who left you. The words struck her like lightning. What do you mean you knew? Daniel Adrian's gaze stayed on the city as if searching for something far away. Yes, I knew him, and that is why you were never supposed to marry him. The air in the car turned cold. His confession left her breathless, every question she had burned in her mind as the city lights blurred past outside. The man who had saved her was no longer just a stranger. He was someone who had been part of her story long before she ever knew it. The city skyline glimmered beneath the fading light as the car pulled into a secluded driveway lined with black gates. The mansion that rose before them was nothing like the cold perfection of Voss Tower. It was older, darker, its stone walls marked by history and secrets. Adrian said little during the ride, his expression unreadable, but Isla could feel the tension radiating from him like a silent storm waiting to break. Inside the grand hall, chandeliers burned low, casting golden light across the marble floors. Portraits of people she did not recognize watched her from the walls, their painted eyes sharp and knowing. The housekeeper greeted them quietly. Mr. Voss, your study is prepared. Adrian nodded, dismissing her before turning to Isla. You should rest. Your room is upstairs, last door on the right. She hesitated. Why are we here? He looked at her for a long moment before answering. This is where the truth begins. That night, sleep refused to come. Her mind restless with his earlier words. She wandered through the hallways. The house too quiet, the air heavy with something unspoken. Her bare feet brushed over the cool floor until she stopped at a half-open door. Light spilled from within. Faint and flickering, she pushed gently and froze. Adrian sat at a piano, his back to her. His hands moved over the keys with aching grace, the melody haunting, tender and full of grief. She stood in the doorway, unable to move the and who had seemed made of steel, now looked human, broken, even when the last note faded. He did not turn, but said softly, "You shouldn't be awake. I couldn't sleep," she admitted, stepping closer. "You said you knew Daniel? What did you mean?" His hands stilled on the keys. He exhaled slowly. "Daniel worked for me once years ago. He was clever, charming, dangerous. I trusted him with something precious, and he destroyed it." "What did he destroy?" Adrian turned, then his eyes shadowed. "He destroyed someone I loved." The pain in his voice hit her like a wave. "Who?" she asked quietly. "My fiancée, Alara." She whispered the name as if tasting it. "Alara Voss. She died on our wedding day." Daniel was behind the wheel. "He was drunk. He fled before the police arrived, and I buried her alone." Isla's breath caught her chest, tightening with disbelief. "I had no idea." Adrian smiled without warmth. "Of course not." Daniel buried that part of his past like it never happened. He changed his name, moved through life, leaving wreckage behind. "So you married me to punish him?" she demanded, her voice shaking. Adrian rose slowly, crossing the room until he stood inches away, his gaze burning into hers. "I married you to protect you from becoming his next victim." She stepped back, her thoughts spinning. "He said he loved me. He said he wanted to start over." Adrian's voice sharpened. "He says whatever he must to get what he wants. He wanted your inheritance, your gallery, connections, your name. He would have ruined you, like he ruined her." The truth twisted inside her like a blade, everything she believed in collapsing, yet beneath the anger, another feeling stirred, understanding. "And what about you?" she whispered. "What do you want from me?" His expression softened for the first time in days. "I wanted to forget," he said quietly. "But when I saw you at the altar crying, I couldn't walk away again. Maybe I wanted redemption. Maybe I wanted to save what little good was left in me." The silence stretched heavy with emotion. Outside, thunder rumbled, echoing through the mansion. She took a slow breath, her pulse wild. "If everything you're saying is true, why didn't you tell me before? Because truth has a price, and I wasn't sure you were ready to pay it." A knock at the door interrupted them. Adrian's assistant entered, pale. "Sir, you need to see this." He held up a phone, flashing headlines. "Daniel Hale found in police custody, suspected in corporate blackmail investigation." Adrian took the phone, his jaw tightening as he read the details. His eyes flickered toward Isla. "He was after more than just you. He was after me." As rain began to fall against the windows, Adrian met her gaze and said, "This isn't over. It's only beginning." And from the way his voice trembled, she knew he wasn't talking about Daniel anymore. He was talking about them. The next morning the rain had stopped, but the city seemed to hold its breath. Dark clouds still hovered as if waiting for something to fall. Again, Isla woke to the faint sound of voices from downstairs. She followed them quietly, her bare feet silent on the marble floor. Adrian stood near the fireplace, speaking in a low, clipped tone to two men in suits. They looked tense, their faces pale as they exchanged folders across the table. When Adrian saw her, he dismissed them with a nod. The men left quickly, their eyes avoiding hers. "What was that about?" she asked. His expression softened. "Just business. Nothing you need to worry about." She crossed her arms. "You said that last night too. But I saw their faces. They looked afraid." Adrian hesitated, then said quietly, "Daniel isn't in custody anymore. He posted bail. Someone powerful helped him. That means he's planning something." She frowned. "Why would anyone help him after everything he's done?" "Because he knows secrets," he said grimly. "Secrets that could destroy people, and one of those people might be me." The words hung between them, sharp as glass. Isla stepped closer, her voice trembling. "What kind of secrets?" Adrian looked away. Finally, he said something that made her skin prickle. 3 years ago, a woman came to me with information about a fraud inside my company. She claimed Daniel was blackmailing my board members to gain access to funds. When I confronted him, he disappeared 2 days later. My investigator vanished too, and now he's back. she whispered. Yes, and he's not coming for money. This time, Adrian said quietly. He's coming for revenge. Later that day, Isla tried to distract herself. Wandering the art gallery, Adrian kept hidden on the mansion's lower level. The walls were filled with paintings, dark and powerful, emotions bleeding from every stroke. One painting stopped her cold. It was a portrait of a woman with familiar eyes, dark hair caught in the wind, and a sad smile carved in paint. It looked like her. She touched the frame softly. When did you paint this? She asked without turning. Adrian had entered silently. He studied her expression. That's not you. That's Alara, my fiancée. You resemble her more than you know. The air between them shifted electric with tension and memory. She stepped back uneasy. Did you marry me because I remind you of her? His gaze met hers, steady and unflinching. I married you because I couldn't let Daniel destroy another woman I cared about. But his voice wavered slightly, betraying more than his words. Before she could reply, the door burst open. His assistant, pale and breathless. Sir, it's Daniel. He's at the gates demanding to see you. Adrian's face hardened. Tell security to keep him out, sir. He's not alone. There are reporters with him. They're claiming you framed him for embezzlement. Adrian cursed under his breath and strode to the control panel. Screens flickered to life, showing Daniel outside, calm, smiling too. Calm, reporters swarmed him, microphones flashing as he spoke. The world deserves to know what really happened, he said loud enough for cameras to hear. Adrian Voss isn't a savior. He's a thief. He paid me to leave Isla at the altar to hide his own crimes. Isla's heart lurched. Hearing her name, reporters turned toward the gates, shouting questions. Adrian's face went white. That's a lie, he muttered. Daniel knows how to twist truth into poison. Without warning, Isla rushed toward the door. Adrian caught her arm. Don't she? Met his eyes, fierce and shaking. I need to hear it for myself. Adrian hesitated, then followed her outside, rain beginning to fall again, as if the sky itself disapproved. Daniel smiled when he saw them walking down the steps together. You look radiant, Mrs. Voss, though. I suppose it's Miss Monroe again soon? Enough. Adrian's voice cut through the chaos. What do you want? Daniel leaned closer. Just the truth, exposed, brother. Isla stared at both men, realization dawning. The way Daniel said, brother, made her blood run cold. She turned to Adrian, confused. What does he mean? Adrian's silence was deafening. Daniel laughed, the sound cruel. Didn't he tell you? He's my half-brother. Our father had 2 families, 2 lives, 2 sons born from different worlds, and one of us always had to lose. The crowd gasped. Flashes of cameras lit the air. Isla's heart pounded as she looked between them, the truth hitting her harder than the storm. Adrian wasn't just her savior. He was part of the same family that had destroyed her life. Daniel smirked. You see, Isla, you never escaped the Hales, you just married into them. Before Adrian could respond, a gunshot cracked through the chaos. The crowd screamed, reporters scattered. Isla froze as Adrian pulled her close, shielding her from the spray of glass. Another shot followed, and then silence, only the sound of rain and her ragged breathing. Adrian's voice broke through, low, urgent. Get inside now. Someone just declared war on all of us. Sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flashed against the rain-soaked mansion walls. Adrian pulled Isla behind the marble column, his arm firm around her as security guards ran toward the gate. Daniel was gone, vanished into the storm, leaving only shattered glass and the echo of gunfire. Isla's heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. Adrian's hand was warm against Ate's. Your back steady grounding, stay with me, he murmured. No one else was hurt. She nodded, shaking, but her eyes searched his face. You knew he would come. You were expecting this. Adrian didn't answer right away. His jaw clenched like a man fighting ghosts. I knew he wouldn't stop until he destroyed everything that mattered to me. He led her back inside, locking the heavy doors behind them. The house was eerily silent, only the ticking of the old clock filling the space. Isla turned to him, confusion and fear colliding. What did he mean by brother Adrian? His shoulders stiffened, and for the first time she saw something like shame in his eyes. It's true. Daniel and I share the same father, Richard Hale, the man you knew as your future father-in-law. The ground shifted beneath her, the betrayal deeper than she imagined you knew. This and never told me. His voice was quiet, almost broken. I didn't want to become another man in your life defined by his lies. I wanted to protect you from all of it. Her anger sparked. Protect me by lying to me. She stepped back. You and Daniel, two sides of the same man who ruined my life. No, he said sharply. I'm nothing like him. I tried to stop him that day at the cathedral. He planned to leave you. I begged him not to do it when he refused. I walked in because I couldn't let the world watch you fall alone. She wanted to believe him, but doubt crept like poison through her veins. She turned away, staring at the rain streaking the windows. Why does it always end in secrets, Adrian? Why does everyone think they know what's best for me? His voice softened. Because I've seen what he's capable of. The blackmail, the fraud, and now this. He gestured toward the broken glass. Someone shot at us, Isla. This isn't about jealousy anymore. He's after something bigger that night. The mansion filled with tension. Security guards patrolled the perimeter. Police came and left, offering no comfort. Adrian stood in, his study staring at a map of the city, red marks circled in precise patterns. Bank accounts, shell companies, old addresses. He's using the same network he used years ago to cover his crimes, he said quietly. Isla hovered near the doorway, unsure whether to speak. Then she noticed a photograph pinned to the board. A woman with soft, dark hair and the same sad eyes as the portrait she'd seen earlier. Ilara. Isla's breath caught. She was beautiful. Adrian looked up. Yes, she was. Ilara uncovered Daniel's first scam the night she died. She had proof he was laundering money through my company. He wanted her silence. She refused, and she paid for it. Isla's pulse raced the air thick with dread. You think he killed her? I know he did. But no one believed me, he said bitterly. The car crash was staged, the brakes tampered with. I spent years trying to prove it, but without evidence he walked away free. A knock interrupted them. His assistant entered again. Pale, sir. The investigator you hired just called. He found something? Adrian took the phone, listening in silence, his expression darkening every second where he asked, low voice tense. His assistant hesitated. A warehouse near the East River, he said. There's a ledger with your signature on it. Adrian froze. My signature, he repeated. Yes, and a transfer, linking your name to offshore accounts. It's been leaked to the media. Daniel's setting you up, Isla whispered, realization dawning. He's turning your own company against you. Adrian slammed his fist on the desk, papers scattering across the floor. Then his eyes lifted, fierce, determined. I'm not letting him win again. Without another word, he grabbed his coat and gun from the drawer. Isla stepped forward. You're not going alone. It's too dangerous. His gaze softened for a heartbeat. If something happens to me, promise you'll go to my lawyer. She shook her head, gripping his arm. I'm not leaving you. Not now. Not after everything we've lost. The thunder outside rumbled louder. Lightning flashed across the dark sky, illuminating their faces inches apart. His voice dropped low. If you come with me, you might see who I truly am. Then show me, she whispered. Because I'm tired of loving ghosts. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded. Come with me. They left the mansion as the storm reached its peak, rain lashing against the windshield of the black car. The city lights flickered in the distance, shadows twisting on wet streets. Isla's pulse matched the rhythm of the wipers, every instinct screaming that this night would change everything forever, and somewhere beyond the downpour in the dark of the East River, a figure waited, watching them through binoculars, a faint smile curving his lips. Daniel whispered into his phone. They took the bait. The car sliced through the storm, its headlights cutting thin lines through the sheets of rain. Adrian's hands gripped the wheel, his jaw tight. The streets were almost empty, their reflections rippling across the wet asphalt. Isla sat beside him, her heart thundering, the silence between them heavy and sharp, like something alive. She glanced at his face. He looked different, colder, more focused, as if he was preparing for war. The warehouse came into view on the edge of the East River, an abandoned structure with broken windows and a single light flickering near the entrance. Adrian parked the car in the shadows. Stay here, he said quietly. I'll handle this alone. Isla shook her head. Not a chance. If Daniel is there, I'm not hiding from him again. Adrian met her eyes, his gaze full of both frustration and something softer. Fine, but stay close. They stepped into the darkness. The smell of rust and old smoke filled the air. Water dripped from the ceiling, echoing through the vast empty space. Adrian's flashlight cut across the floor, revealing scattered papers, broken crates, and the faint outline of a figure ahead. "Stop," he whispered, pulling her back, his other hand reaching for the gun tucked at his side. A low voice echoed from the shadows. "Took you long enough, Adrian. You always were the dramatic aunt." Daniel stepped into the light, smirking rainwater glistening in his hair. He looked unbothered, confident, as if the whole night were a game to him. Isla's breath caught. At the sight of him, her stomach twisting with old hurt and anger. "You set me up." Adrian's voice was low, cold. "You forged my signature." Daniel laughed. "Forged it? I didn't have to, brother. You signed those papers yourself years ago. Remember when you thought you were protecting me from prison? Well, those signatures never disappeared." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about? You used my name. You told me it was for legitimate transfers. I was trying to help you." Daniel shrugged. "Help is such a flexible word. I needed money. You needed absolution. I gave you both." Isla stepped forward, furious. "You ruined him. You ruined everyone who ever trusted you." Daniel's smile widened. "Careful, love. You sound jealous." He turned to Adrian almost playfully, though his eyes were pure venom. "She doesn't know." "Does she? Doesn't know what Adrian demanded?" Daniel tilted his head. "She doesn't know who ordered me to disappear on her wedding day." The words froze the air. "What are you saying?" Isla whispered, her voice shaking. Adrian's jaw clenched. "Don't listen to him. He lies about everything." Daniel chuckled. "Oh, he didn't tell you." "Of course not, because it was him. He paid me to leave that day." "No." Isla's voice broke, her hands trembling. "That can't be true." Adrian stepped closer, his expression pleading. "It's not what you think." Daniel pulled a folded document from his jacket, waving it in the air. "It's all here. The transfer $5 million from Voss Enterprises signed by Adrian Voss himself. A gift to make me vanish and free the bride for his taking." The sound of rain against the roof grew louder, like the world was listening. Adrian's voice dropped. "I did it because you threatened her. You said you'd destroy her reputation if she didn't marry you. I was trying to protect her." Daniel's laughter filled the warehouse. "You keep saying that word? Protect. Maybe you should admit what it really means." "Control." A shot rang out suddenly, Chowing through the dark space. Isla screamed, diving for cover. Adrian pulled her behind a pillar. Bullets shattered the crates, splinters flying everywhere. Daniel's voice shouted over the noise. "You can't kill the past, brother, no matter how many times you try." Adrian fired back. Once the echo deafening, then silence. Smoke drifted through the air. When the lights flickered back on, Daniel was gone. Only a smear of blood trailed toward the back exit. Adrian lowered his weapon, breathing hard, his knuckles white around the handle. "He's wounded," Isla whispered. Adrian nodded. "But he'll come back stronger." They drove home in silence, the storm easing into mist. By the time they reached the mansion, the city was quiet again, eerily calm. Isla stared out the window, her mind spinning, the truth clawing inside her heart. "You paid him," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I had no choice." Adrian answered, his tone heavy. "I did it to keep you safe, but in doing that I hurt you anyway." Tears blurred her vision. "I don't know if I can trust anything anymore," she whispered. Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. "I'll prove it to you. I'll show you everything tomorrow. The one person who knows the full truth is still alive. His name is Gregory Hale. Our father." Isla turned to him, shocked. "Your father?" He nodded. "The one man who can expose Daniel's entire empire and clear my name. But he vanished years ago. I think Daniel found him first." The night swallowed their words as the mansion loomed ahead, its windows glowing faintly against the dark, and somewhere in the distance a phone vibrated on a desk, a message flashing on the screen before fading away. 2 words sent from an unknown number. He's coming the morning after the storm. The mansion was wrapped in eerie silence. Sunlight tried to cut through the clouds, but the air felt heavy with dread. Isla woke to the faint sound of voices echoing from downstairs. She followed them quietly. Her heart still raw from the night before. Adrian stood near the fireplace talking to someone on the phone. His voice low, urgent, controlled. "Yes, I know what it means if the files are real," he said. "We can't move until I verify them. Find Gregory Hale before Daniel does and keep him alive. Do you understand?" The call ended and he turned, finding Isla standing there barefoot in the doorway, her eyes questioning. He looked exhausted, dark circles shadowing his gaze. "Who were you talking to?" she asked quietly. "My investigator," he replied. "We have a lead, your father. He's alive." He nodded. "Barely. He's in hiding in Vermont under another name. Daniel has been trying to find him for months because the old man still has the original ledger from Voss Enterprises, the one that proves who really stole the money, and who did," she asked. Adrian hesitated before answering. "Your ex-fiancé, Daniel. Everything he has ever accused me of was what he did himself, but he needed me as the scapegoat, so he forged papers and left clues to bury me when the time came." Isla's hands trembled. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I needed proof," he said quietly. "And now I think he's going after my father to erase the last witness." Without another word, she said, "We have to go now." Adrian stared at her for a long moment and then nodded. "Fine. Pack warm clothes and nothing that traces to us. We leave in 10 minutes. The drive north was long and tense. The farther they got from Manhattan, the more the world seemed to blur into forests and mist. Adrian's car moved like a ghost along the highway, his focus unbroken. But inside him there was a storm. Isla could see it in the way his fingers tightened on the wheel every time her phone buzzed. By the time they reached the small mountain town, the sun was gone, the streets deserted. They stopped at a cabin hidden among tall pine trees, lights faintly glowing inside. Adrian drew his gun as they approached. "Stay behind me," he whispered. Isla's pulse quickened, but she followed closely. The door creaked open, revealing a thin, older man with silver hair and sharp eyes. "Gregory Hale. So the past finally found me," he said quietly, his voice filled with weary sarcasm. Adrian lowered his weapon. "Father, we need your help." Gregory's eyes flicked to Isla. "So this is the woman your brother abandoned you for. Interesting family pattern," the old man said. Isla swallowed hard. "Sir Daniel is trying to find you. He already knows you're alive." Gregory's expression hardened. "Then it's too late. He already has the first half of the ledger, the one that shows your signature." "Adrian, you're running out of time." Adrian stepped closer. "What do you mean?" "Half." Gregory reached into his coat, pulling out a small flash drive. "This is the other half, the part that proves he forged your name. Daniel doesn't know it exists yet. I kept it hidden for years, but if you take it, you'll have to finish this. The only way to end it is to destroy him publicly." A loud crash shattered the silence. The window exploded inward, bullets spraying the wooden walls. "Get down!" Adrian shouted, pulling Isla behind the couch. Gregory ducked, reaching for his gun, but a shadow moved across the doorway. Daniel's voice carried through the stormy night. "Did you really think you could hide from me forever? Old man, give me the drive, and maybe I'll let them live." Adrian's eyes locked with Isla's pure fury in his voice. "Stay here," he whispered, then crawled low toward the door. Firing once, the echo ripped through the cabin. Gregory shoved the flash drive into Isla's hands, his voice hoarse. "If I don't make it, get this to the press. It's the only way." Before she could answer, another shot rang out. Gregory collapsed beside her, blood staining the floor. Isla screamed. Adrian turned his head just in time to see Daniel standing in the doorway, gun smoking, his smile cruel and calm, like he had planned this moment for years. "Brother," he said softly. "Always the hero trying to save the broken ones." Adrian's voice cracked with rage. "You killed her. You killed Ilara. And now him." Daniel stepped closer. You never understood she was mine to destroy, and now she's gone just like everyone you try to protect. Adrian raised his gun, but before he could fire, Daniel grabbed Isla, dragging her toward the door. She struggled against him, his arm locked around her throat. Adrian froze. One wrong move and she's gone, Daniel warned. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating all three faces for a split second. Rage, fear, love, and then darkness again. You want the truth, Daniel hissed. I didn't just kill Ilara. She wasn't your fiancée. She was my wife. The words struck Adrian like a blow. He staggered back, disbelief tearing through him. Daniel's laughter filled the cabin. She chose me, but you never could stand losing, not her. Not this woman either. You want what's mine, and that's why you'll lose everything. Before Adrian could react, a gunshot exploded. Daniel jerked, his eyes widening as blood spread across his shirt. Isla stood trembling, the smoking gun still in her shaking hand. Adrian caught her before she fell. As Daniel dropped to the floor, his final words slipping through a weak grin. This isn't over. Even death can't stop the truth. The room fell silent except for the rain dripping through the shattered roof. Adrian held her close, whispering, "It's over." But deep down, he knew it wasn't. Not yet. The truth he had buried years ago was only beginning to rise. The cabin smelled of gunpowder and rain. The silence after the gunshot felt heavier than the storm outside. Isla sat trembling on the floor, her hands still shaking from the recoil of the weapon. Adrian crouched beside her, his face pale, streaked with sweat and grief, his voice low. "Steady, breathe. You're safe. It's over." She looked at the motionless body of Daniel sprawled on the wooden floor, blood pooling beneath him. The man who had ruined her wedding, her heart, her peace, finally gone. But the victory felt hollow. Adrian checked Gregory's pulse. There was none. His father was gone too. 2 brothers, one dead, one alive, and a truth that refused to stay buried. Adrian stood slow, his eyes dark. The flash drive. "Where is it?" Isla pulled it from her pocket, gripping it tightly. Here he took it, his fingers trembling slightly as he looked down at the tiny object that held years of secrets, the proof that could clear his name or destroy everything left of his family. "We need to leave now," he said. "This place isn't safe. Someone else will come. The network Daniel built didn't die with him. He helped powerful people. They'll come for us before morning." They burned the evidence they could carry and drove through the night, the highway empty, the world still asleep. By dawn, they reached a secluded hotel near the border. Adrian set up his laptop on the small wooden desk, plugging in the flash drive. Lines of data flooded the screen. Files labeled with company names, bank accounts and signatures, some belonging to politicians, others to corporate giants, hidden transactions linked to Voss Enterprises. But one file made Adrian freeze. The name, Ilara. Voss flashed in red letters. He opened it, and the world seemed to stop. Inside were photos, reports, police statements showing that Ilara's death wasn't just a drunk driving accident. It was a cover-up. A witness statement revealed she had been pregnant at the time and the baby was not Adrian's Isla. Watched his expression change, his face drained of color as if the truth had ripped the ground from under him. "Who was the father?" she asked quietly. Adrian's voice broke Daniel. Isla covered her mouth, her stomach twisting in shock. "He was right about that part." Adrian whispered, "I thought she was mine. I spent years trying to avenge her, but I was living in a lie. I was avenging the man she betrayed me for." Tears stung his eyes. He turned away from the screen, disgusted by everything, by himself, by the years wasted in hate. Isla walked to him, placing her hand gently on his shoulder. "You didn't deserve what they did," she said softly. But he shook his head. "I became what I hated. I lied to you. I dragged you into my war." Before she could answer, a sharp knock rattled the door. Adrian's body went still. He drew his gun, signaling her to stay silent. Another knock, louder this time, followed by a voice, "Open up. It's the police. We tracked your vehicle from the Vermont border." Adrian looked at Isla, his eyes narrowing. "They aren't real police," he whispered. "Stay behind me." The door burst open before he could move. Men in black uniforms stormed the room, weapons drawn. "Get down!" Adrian fired once. Then, twice. Taking cover behind the bed, bullets shredded the wall, glass exploded around them. Isla ducked, her heart pounding as a man lunged toward her, grabbing for the flash drive. She bit his arm and kicked him hard, sending him crashing into the desk. Adrian fought like a man possessed until one of the attackers grabbed Isla, pressing a gun to her head. "Drop it!" the man shouted. Adrian froze his weapon, trembling. He could see the reflection of her terrified eyes in the broken mirror behind the gunman. "Don't, Adrian," she whispered. He dropped the weapon slowly. The man snatched the flash drive from the desk, smirking. "This is what they wanted," he said, then fired a shot into Adrian's shoulder before running out the door with his team. Adrian collapsed, blood spreading fast across his shirt. Isla screamed, rushing to his side. He tried to speak, but the words came out broken. "Find the drive, don't let them win." She pressed her hands against the wound, tears mixing with his blood. "Stay with me, please don't leave me. You promised me redemption. Remember?" He looked at her through fading eyes and whispered, "Maybe redemption was always meant for you." Sirens wailed in the distance. Real ones. This time the imposter's gone. Isla held him tighter, refusing to let go until paramedics pulled her away as they lifted Adrian into the ambulance. She clutched his hand, his pulse weak, but still there. Hours later, in the hospital corridor, she sat alone, staring at the rain outside when her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen, the same number that had sent Daniel a warning before. The message read, 2 words. "He's alive." The hospital corridor smelled of rain, and antiseptic machines beeped softly behind the glass where Adrian lay, pale but alive. Doctors worked quietly around him, stitching the wound that could have ended everything. Isla sat motionless, her eyes fixed on the message glowing on her phone. "He's alive." The same words that had haunted her from the start. She looked again, her fingers trembling. The number had no name, no trace. Just those 2 words. Before she could think, the phone buzzed again. This time a video message. She opened it and her breath caught. It was Daniel alive. His face bruised, his arm in a sling, standing in front of what looked like a cargo ship behind him. Men loaded crates under heavy rain. He smiled coldly. "You really thought it was that easy, little brother," he said. "Tell Isla that the game has just begun and next time I won't miss." The screen went dark. Isla felt her pulse hammering against her ribs. Daniel wasn't dead. He had escaped again. She ran to Adrian's room. The doctor stopped her. "He needs rest. You can't go in yet." She ignored him. Bursting through the door, Adrian turned his head weakly, his eyes half open. "What happened?" She showed him the phone. His face hardened instantly. "I knew it," he said through clenched teeth. "I saw him fall, but I never found the body. Daniel doesn't die easily." Isla sat beside him, her voice shaking. "He's planning something bigger," he said. "Something about a ship." Adrian tried to sit up, grimacing from the pain. "We have to move now." She pressed his shoulder back down. "You're not even healed." Adrian looked at her, his eyes burning. "I can't rest while he's out there. He has the drive, and if he decrypts it, he'll expose everything. Not just the company, but the entire network of people, GPU. "How funded him?" She frowned. "You mean there are others?" Adrian nodded. The truth hit her like cold water. It was never just between them. It was a web of power lies, and blood that went far beyond love or revenge. Hours later, they left the hospital under new names, traveling through the night toward the docks where the video had been filmed. The air smelled of salt and diesel, the waves crashing against metal hulls under the dim light of a storm forming again. Adrian's steps were slower but determined, every movement a silent promise that this would end tonight. They found the cargo ship anchored far from the main port, its deck empty except for a few scattered crates and a single man waiting near the railing. Daniel stepped forward, his smile too calm. "I wondered how long it would take you," he said. Adrian raised his gun. "No more games." Daniel laughed. "I didn't come here to fight. I came here to finish what Father started." Isla's voice trembled. "What are you talking about?" Daniel turned his gaze to her. "Our father, Gregory Hale, wasn't the man you think he was. He created the entire network, the corruption, the money laundering, everything. Voss Enterprises was just his mask." Adrian shook his head. "That's a lie. I saw what he did. Daniel smiled. You saw what he wanted you to see. He made us both pawns in his empire. When Alara found out, he ordered me to silence her. Not because she betrayed me, but because she threatened to expose him. The revelation hit like thunder. Adrian staggered the truth, tearing through everything he believed. Gregory Hale had not been a victim. He had been the architect of all their pain. Daniel's voice softened. Now you understand, brother. I didn't kill him because I hated him. I killed him because it was the only way to end it. Before Adrian could respond, a sharp click echoed behind them. Another voice, cold, familiar. The sound of heels on metal. So did you really think killing him would erase the past? Isla turned slowly. A woman stepped out from the shadows, dressed in black, holding a gun aimed at both of them. Alara, she was alive. Her face older, older but unmistakable. Adrian's breath caught Alara. He whispered, You died. She smiled. Not quite. They needed me gone, so they staged it. Daniel helped me disappear until I became useful again, and now I'm here to take what's mine. The money, the power, and the freedom none of you deserved. Adrian's gun trembled in his hand. Alara, don't do this. You don't know what you're saying. She laughed. I know exactly what I'm saying. Your father built an empire of corruption, and I intend to finish it. Daniel turned to her. I didn't fake your death so you could betray me. She smirked. You didn't fake anything, Daniel. I did. You were just too easy to use. The betrayal snapped something in him. He lunged at her, grabbing her arm. The gun fired once, echoing across the deck. The bullet tore through the air, striking Daniel in the chest. He fell back against the railing, shock in his eyes, before he slipped over the edge into the dark water below. Alara turned her weapon toward Adrian, but Isla was faster. She swung a metal bar from the crate beside her, hitting Alara's hand. The gun clattered across the floor. Alara stumbled backward, losing her balance, and fell hard against the railing. Lightning split the sky as she screamed, disappearing into the storm. The deck fell silent, rain washing away the traces of blood. Adrian stood motionless, his breath shallow. It's over, Isla whispered, her voice trembling. He looked at her eyes filled with exhaustion. No, he said softly. It's never over. Not really. They watched the horizon until dawn broke the ship, rocking gently against the waves. Adrian took her hand for the first time, without fear, without control. Just truth. She looked at him, her voice quiet. What happens now? He exhaled slowly. We start again, but this time without lies. Weeks later, the headlines told a story. No one fully believed the Voss Empire dismantled offshore accounts, exposed the brothers' war ended. But the truth buried it. See, Isla opened a new art gallery under her name. No longer Monroe or Voss, just Isla, free of ghosts. Adrian walked beside her, silent but at peace. And every evening as the sun dipped below the skyline, he would whisper to her the same words that had started it all. Don't cry if he won't love you. I will. And this time it wasn't a rescue. It was a promise that finally meant forever.